morning and Assalamualaikum. Today we will discuss about Ada Untungkah Excel file. For the first question, Amira, how can you decide whether to use one sample test sigma known or one sample test sigma unknown?
As we know, there are two types of test statistics. The easiest way to determine which type of test to run is by identifying whether we are given the value of population standard deviation. If there is no value state, hence we will be using one sample test mean sigma unknown. Otherwise, we will run by using one sample test mean sigma known.
Thank you for the explanation. Arif, can you tell me the differences between two types of test statistics explained by Amira just now?
The major difference between these two types of tests is the formula used. For one sample test mean sigma known will be using this formula, while for another sample test mean sigma unknown, where we do not know the number of population, the standard deviation, we will use this formula.
Thank you for the explanation. Next, Hazira, according to the data, how can we decide whether to reject or not the null hypothesis?
Based on this data, we will be using 0.05 as the level of significance. After we identify the p-value using formula 1 minus t.dist, in bracket t and degree of freedom n minus 1, and then we put the value 2, the calculated value will be 0.65. As 0.65 is larger than the significance level, which is 0.05, therefore we fail to reject the null hypothesis. If the p-value is smaller than 0.05, we will then reject the null hypothesis.
Thank you for the clear explanation. Lastly, I would like to invite Fatiha to conclude whether the data support the claim that the average profit for the customer in this industry was at least $4,500.
As explained by Hazira just now, we fail to reject the null hypothesis as the p-value is smaller than the significant level. Hence, it indicates that the data support this claim as there is no sufficient evidence to conclude that H alternative is true. To keep it brief and precise, yes, the data support the claim where the average profit per customer for the industry was at least $4,500. So my first question is, what do you get for the TikTok survey?
First, we assume that the hours spent online per week for males and females are the same. So, we made the null hypothesis mean 1 minus mean 2 equal to 0. While for the alternative hypothesis, we use mean 1 minus mean 2 unequal to 0. And we are using two-tailed test.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, what are the analysis tools that you use for this survey?
The analysis tool that we use is t-test to sample assuming unequal variance. We use this tool to determine whether there is any indication of a difference between the mean of the male and female.
So may I know why don't you use t-test to sample assuming equal variance?
We didn't use the analysis tool because that tool does not assume that the variance of female and male are equal. Parity tests are typically used to test the means of a population before and after some treatment.
Okay, now I understand. So what do you get from the analysis?
Before we get the data, we set the alpha at 0.05. After that, the data that we retrieve is the t-statistic is at negative 0.21, p-value at 0.84, and the critical value is at negative 2.06. However, because we are using two-tailed tests, the value of critical value, it will be positive and negative.
Okay, may I know where the region that t-statistic fall?
As the diagram shown, the t-statistics fall under the non-rejection region, which is below 0.
Okay, now how can you conclude the analysis?
Thus, we fail to reject the null hypothesis because there is no sufficient evidence and we accept the null hypothesis.
What does it mean by mu1 equals to mu2 equals to mu3?
Hypothesis mean 1 represent business major, hypothesis mean 2 represent liberal arts major, and hypothesis mean 3 is for science major.
Why do we reject the p-value approach and the critical value approach?
For p-value approach, the value is 0.0002 is less than the alpha, which is 0.05. While the critical value approach, the F statistics value is bigger than F critical.
How can we conclude this analysis?
Since both of the decisions reject, we don't accept the null hypotheses, which are H null is hypothesis mean 1 equals to hypothesis mean 2 equals to hypothesis mean 3. That means we accept the alternative hypothesis H1, which is not all mean are equal.